office for our newest city council member. She's so popular, she filled the room tonight, so we appreciate that. City Clerk?
I, Sherry Stevenson, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Welcome on board. And now you're stuck. Vice Mayor Valdivia will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Everybody stand. Thank you. Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Stevenson? Here. Councilmember Friend?
Present.
Mayor Velazquez?
Here.
Councilmember Valdivia?
Here.
Councilmember Gomez?
Present.
City Manager Avra?
Present.
City Attorney Soren Diaz, sorry.
Present.
Chief of Police Westrick?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Verification of agenda posting.
The agenda for the City Council regular meeting of September 8th was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on September 3rd at 1:15 p.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2.
Thank you very much. Tonight we have some certificates that are going to be presented to our junior lifeguards. I know they're here. I'll come down. I think we can all appreciate how important it is to learn how to swim and, more importantly, have our young people participate in our community, helping other young people. I'm going to call out a few names. You guys can come out. Michaela Crewley. This is for all your hard work. Mackenzie Honeycutt. Thank you. Ramon Delgado. Amanda Navarro. Marissa Gregg. Savannah Souza. Caitlin Voss. Brianna Castaneda. Emma Alfaro. Thank you all for all the hard work. You want to take a picture? Absolutely. We can take a picture. Come on, guys.
Hey, come on. cheese.
We have combined over 300 hours of
Very important, all the work you young people do for our community, and we do appreciate all that you do. Tonight we have a few proclamations. The first one's for Literacy Month. Who's here to accept that?
Librarian Nora Conti is here to
Oh,
receive
there's
that.
Nora.
Here she is, Nora.
Good to see you. Whereas 14% of our county population, 23.1% of adults in California, and 19% of adults in San Benito County lack basic literacy skills, I, Ignacio Velasquez, Mayor of the City of Hollister, do hereby proclaim September 2014 as Literacy Month. In celebration of International Literacy Day, September 7th, and in honor of the 30th anniversary of the San Benito County Free Library Adult Literacy Program, as well as California Library Literacy Services. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, council members, and thank the community for supporting library services. I also would like to say that at San Benito County, our library system, literacy services is part of the basic 4 core services, and I am very, very pleased that that is supported. Thank you so much.
Just have to add, she works nonstop on trying to improve our services here in our county, and her goal and our dream is to have that new and improved library built in the next few years. So thank you for all the work that you do. We also have our community heroes, including all military and local first responders, that will be recognized on September 12th at San Benito High School at the opening of the football game. I know we have some of our players here. You guys want to come up?
These are the varsity football captains.
These are the captains. These are the guys that win all the games for us. Whereas September 12th, 2014 is Community Heroes Day at San Benito High School football game. And I set my hand on cause to be affixed the seal of City of Hollister this 8th day of September 2014. Thank you, guys. You can do. Have a couple minutes.
All right. Thank you so much for having us here. The Baylor Backers Athletic Organization and Baylor Football are so honored and excited to celebrate our military and first responders on Friday night. This will be the first of our 4 home games. Everybody in uniform that evening will get in free admission. We're going to start the morning. The Boy Scouts are going to put out flags all downtown. They'll be waving all day. At about 6:45, there will be a procession from downtown San Benito Street with our freshman team riding on the first responder vehicles and military vehicles that will be participating. They will go down to the stadium and they will do a once around the track. We will have interactive booths all around the stadium, including police, city fire, CAL FIRE, the Marines, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Army. Our chiefs will be doing the coin toss that evening, and color guard will be provided by the VFW. Our JV game will begin at 5 p.m. and varsity will begin at 7:30. the pregame festivities. You want to make sure you're there a little before 7 o'clock. We will have Hey Baylor superhero capes for sale for the first 50 kids, and they'll get to join join with the freshmen for our pregame festivities. So we hope you'll all join us. We're looking forward to it. They play Palo Alto. It should be a great game, and go Baylors.
Yay. Okay, let's move forward with item A, consent resolution. Are there any items council would like to pull? From A5?
I would like to pull A6 and A7.
A6 and A7.
A9.
Which ones
A9.
are we going to pull?
We are pulling A5, A6, A7, and A9.
Okay.
She's just abstaining.
Oh, she's abstaining, I'm sorry, she's abstaining from A5.
Which one?
A5, Councilmember Stevens will be abstaining from that vote.
Okay.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve item A1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. That's item A6.
Good evening, council members. Item A6 is an upgrade to our existing GIS software, which will allow the police and the fire department to access it from the vehicles, which provides the fire department with the capability of pulling up floor plans of buildings as they're responding to the scene, so they can plan searches of the building a little more effectively than not knowing what they're going into. It'll allow the police department to access code enforcement information and other information right there at the computer, and they can tell where the hotspots are, et cetera. So this increase upgrades our software so we can put all that information so that it's available to them.
Okay, are there any questions?
My question is, you're asking for a supplemental appropriation of 3153.57, and then you have it broke down. Why is the airport FAA grant paying for
That was A5, wasn't it?
No, that's A7.
A7? I'm sorry.
That's
I'm sorry.
A6 is $7,000.
A6, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Well, okay. These improvements are something we didn't have a clue when we did the budget.
This ability just became available to us. So yeah, we didn't have a clue when we did the budget. We didn't have anybody with the skills to make it happen. We now have an employee that has the skills to make it happen. He's actually got it programmed. We just need to upgrade the software to go live.
No comment, I guess.
Go ahead, Councilmember Friend.
All right, no, I think here we are, what, 2 months in the budget, and we're already asking for, it's $7,000, $8,000. Just shouldn't be doing it this way. Should be coming forward or somehow appropriating this out of instead of out of the general fund. All right, go ahead.
Councilmember Valdivia?
Yeah, I just had a question. Is this the one where different programs are going to pay into this?
Yeah,
or is it
out of the 7,000, roughly 4,000 is coming from general fund, and the remaining 3,000 is coming from other funds.
Okay, so it's four from Jay?
From airport, sewer,
Water.
yeah.
Okay.
And that's usually how our GIS program is kind of divided up at the beginning of the year as well.
Okay.
Any other questions from council? I personally, I agree. I think Councilmember Friend is correct. We're only a few months into the budget. This is probably something that we should have been aware of going into the budget. It's obviously an important item, but I think we need to be looking further ahead when we're working on the budget so we can place these items on there early enough. Councilmember Gomez?
Yeah, I just want to say, I mean, I don't have a problem with the expenditure at all. I just actually just want to put the emphasis on how this will actually, we always talk about making things more efficient for the city, and how we want to streamline the process and make our make our employees, make the work of our employees a little bit, I don't want to say easier, but just
Efficient.
yeah, thank you. A lot more efficient, and we could focus on other things at task. So I'm completely supportive of this. I don't have a problem spending $7,000 for the software. I don't know how the heck you guys have been operating without the software, to be completely honest with you. So I'm very supportive of it, and I think that this will help all of our employees be a little bit more efficient in their work. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We didn't have any speaker cards on this. Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2014-174.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Motion carries 5-0 vote. Move forward with item A7.
A7 cleans up Fund 212 and a couple other little things from last year. As council's aware, when the insurance and stuff is done in the budget in February, when we actually do the budget, it's a guess. Actual insurance rates last year were increased a little bit, so this takes care of that. In addition to that, there was a little bit of engineering work that happened on last year's project last year that wasn't anticipated and wasn't budgeted for. And what all these little things are for the workers' comp and the retirement PERS, et cetera, to take care of that expense.
Okay, I just wanted to hear the explanation.
No problem.
All right.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve A6.
Second.
A7, I'm sorry.
A7. Was there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Against? I'm sorry, against? No.
Yes, aye.
Motion carries 5-0 vote. A9.
Marty Richmond?
Marty Richard from Hollister, and congratulations, Ms. Stevenson. I grew up in New York City, and PAL programs were big there. And so when I was a kid, they had a lot of them, and they did a lot of good in the neighborhoods because they break down the barriers between the authority figures and the kids. And you don't have to be their buddies, but you have to get on some level where you can at least talk to each other. These kind of programs always do some good. So I'm in support of these type of programs. I'll make the same pitch I make every week, which is the most important thing our police department does is community relations. It's more important than all the policing they do because it establishes how we operate with each other. And we've seen far too many places, not just this year, but years and years worth of what happens when there's nothing but a big wall between the people who have to enforce the law, the people who have to administer justice, and the population. I think it does a lot of good. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council?
I wasn't going to speak on this, Mr. Mayor, but since the item was pulled, I do want to just express my complete support for this and thank Chief Westrick for bringing this and hopefully enhancing the services that are currently out there. But ultimately, as Marty said, just making sure that we continue that collaboration with the community, I think is important. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I would like to say that I have noticed that this program has worked in other communities. It's been very successful, especially in the city of Watsonville, so I also agree.
Just want to add too, I know Chief has been working on this for actually quite a while, and we've talked about it, so it's good to see it here finally.
Yes, this is just the start. We're going to actually use this money for training and mentoring in hopes that we've actually just applied for another grant that will hopefully actually fund PAL quite a bit. So we're trying to take those first initial steps to build a nice viable program that we can sustain rather than do a one-shot thing for many years. So I'm kind of interested in bringing junior giants here. So thank you.
Appreciate all the hard work on this. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve
I wasn't a voting.
item B1.
I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion carries 5-0 vote. Move forward to item B1.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. This is, you have before you the recognized obligation payment schedule for the successor agency for the period, the first 6 months of 2015, from January 1st, 2015 to June 30th. We're recommending that you adopt the resolution 2014-11 SA, adopting the recognized obligation payment schedule. Are there any questions?
Any questions from council? Any speaker cards?
No.
Motion to approve resolution 2014-11 SA.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0 vote. Move forward to item B2.
Yes, you have another resolution before you, 2014-12. This would authorize the executive director of the successor agency to execute grant deeds to transfer the 400 block at the southwest corner of 4th and San Benito Streets to the city of Hollister. As you probably recall, this is one of the properties of the former redevelopment agency. It was an assembly of properties. As a result of the Loma Prieta earthquake, there was catastrophic damage to several buildings on that block. We prepared a long-range property management plan that was approved by the Department of Finance that had to articulate how we would dispose of the property. It's been approved and recommended that we hold it for redevelopment because it's recognized as a catalyst piece. So we're recommending that you approve the resolution in your packet. Are there any questions?
Any questions from council?
Now, I understand it's supposed to be rented for nonprofit.
Correct.
And who's renting it now?
I think Jerry has a pretty good list, but it's been used for Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, the Lights on Parade.
Hollister Downtown Association uses it. The various nonprofits schedule signs to be posted on those posts right at the corner. I know Red Ribbon has an event coming up October
11?
Thank you, 11th. And they'll be using it as the starting point and the finishing point for the run. There are various nonprofit groups, and they do have to be a 501c located in the county.
Any chance that Galvin College could use it as well?
Yep.
Any other questions from council? Are there any speaker cards?
No.
I make a motion that we approve item B2.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0 vote. Move forward to item C, public input. This is a time for anyone in the audience to speak on any item not on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. When the city clerk calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name and city for the record, and speak to the city council. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Please note that state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking any action not on the agenda. Do we have any speakers?
Marty Richmond?
Good evening again, Marty Richmond from Hollister, and I want to take this opportunity to take you off the oven and throw you into the fire. I hope the council will find a consensus to get together and put on the agenda a vote to recommend the vote no on Measure J, which is very important to defeat Measure J for the economic health of the city of Hollister. Measure J effectively bans all oil and gas exploration in the county. You're going to hear arguments about, oh, it's not everything. Well, it is essentially everything. There are 50,000 oil wells in the state of California. 76% of them use enhanced recovery techniques. All enhanced recovery techniques will be gone. We will probably get to keep the 30 wells we have now, but if they make shale oil discoveries tomorrow, we will not be able to pump it. Without an enhanced recovery technique, you cannot pump oil out of shale. So the people who wrote this know darn well that by taking the tires off the car, you say, I didn't ban the car, but it can't run, okay? There was, within the last 2 weeks, the BLM released a 400-page report that they commissioned to find out if it was safe environmentally and every other way to run this enhanced operations on federal land. And the answer came back as yes. I sent you each a copy of the conclusions. In addition, I'd like to say I sent you some propaganda sheets there to point out something really important. This nation net imports 7.4 million barrels of oil a day, and much of it from not our friends. That costs us $740 million a day, or $270 billion a year that we ship overseas to pay for that oil. That comes out to $30.8 million an hour, 24 hours a day, around the clock. Not only that, every household in America, if evenly spaced, pays $2,350 to a foreign nation for the oil we import every year. We have got to start being energy independent by taking our own oil. I would not risk the safety of this county for oil. I've done the research. I read that entire report, 400 pages from the BLM, soup to nuts. And I tell you without any doubt that all these horror stories are nonsense. There's not a single case, documented case, of a poison aquifer in the entire state of California. So I'll just wind up, and thank you for the extra minute, by saying vote no on Measure J, and I hope you will take this issue up. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Julie Vieira?
Julie Vieira, Hollister. I'm here on a happy occasion. I was asked by some coworkers of Miss Jerry Johnson's to, I don't know if you guys realize, tomorrow she will have been with this city 29 years.
Here, here.
So her coworkers put together a list and asked me if I would read it. One of them left town, so she didn't have to read it. I think you even took her to the airport. So they knew that she couldn't get to me. So 29 reasons why Jerry Johnson is the city of Hollister's best clerk. She is kind, she is patient, she is fair to all, she is an adventurous traveler. And I don't have my glasses on, so I got to hold this.
Oh, that's okay. Let's skip it.
Number 5, she's definitely has moxie. She has integrity, is an approachable professional, is a wonderful teacher, is an excellent mentor, is not afraid to stand up when she believes in something. She knows the city's history, has people connections, has fabulous shoes. I don't know who wrote that one. Is devoted to her family, has the warmest heart, forgives others completely, makes others want to be better, leads by example. Number 19 has a beautiful smile. Number 20 has the most beautiful sparkling blue eyes. I'm just reading them. Number 21 has the city's best interest at heart at all times. Number 22 is concerned for others' welfare, loves unconditionally, is an excellent baker, has a contagious laugh. Number 26 has excellent grammar skills. Number 27, invested in our community. She is resourceful and is a great gardener. 29 years, and I know I have been in many meetings, I serve on many nonprofit boards, and whenever we're discussing about trying to find out something about the city of Hollister, everybody says, oh, call Jerry, she'll know the answer. And I had to do that a couple of weeks ago. I walked in, I asked somebody at the front desk the question, and they said, just a minute, I'll get Jerry. And she knew the answer. So 29 years, thank you, Jerry, for all your answers. It's appreciated.
Thank you so much. Yeah, wait till Christine gets back.
That's great.
Thank
Do we have any other speakers?
No, thank you.
I think you caught her.
Yeah.
Item D, no business. Item E1.
Oh, excuse myself, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. This item is a public hearing to receive public input on the types of projects for a City of Hollister application for a Community Development Block Grant supplemental activity request for the 13 Community Development 8956 contract. You may recall at a public hearing on August 18th, you reviewed opportunities for expenditure of program income. There was a change explained by our consultant with the state, with the administration of the revolving loan fund. We're recommending that you hold a public hearing. We were directed at that meeting to prepare a supplemental activity request, which is attached to your transmittal, that would support projects recommended by staff, including sidewalk installation. The amount of funds available would be $375,000. Your staff report identifies census tract block groups that are identified as eligible benefit areas because of the income level of the population in those census tract block groups. We compared the list of projects of homes with sidewalks in need of repair to the list, and there's well over 100 homes that could benefit. So we're confident that we could expend this remaining program income in a timely manner. So we're recommending you open the public hearing, close it, and adopt resolution 2014-178. Are there any questions?
This is, if I remember right, this can only be spent in the identified areas, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So we've already identified the areas and the sidewalks that need.
Right.
Deals.
Yeah.
Any other questions from council? Wanted to clarify, I know there was a citizen here that was interested in the loan program previously. I just want to make sure we're clarifying that that was stopped because of the state. Is that correct?
Correct. Well, the state abolished the revolving loan program. So, and then they issued a memo that said that we could do, if you directed us, we could expend some of the funds for a business loan. That probably would take longer. I think it was explained at the last public hearing that we can't draw down any funds for our 2013 NOVA award. That would be for the public services and the construction of the food bank until we expend this money. So one of the priorities we're recommending is a project that in the areas of benefit that would expend the money quickly.
Okay. Are there any other questions from council?
So this is for 100 homes specifically, this
No.
375,000?
No, sorry, I wasn't very clear. It would be, we'd spend up to $375,000, and I think it would be a lot less than 100 homes. The point I was trying to make is that I think there's a greater demand than there is money for the sidewalk repair in the areas of benefit. So was it 20,000? About 10,000 per home might be the cost for repair.
So these all would go out to bid, so we would have.
What we would try to do again is we would try to identify the areas of our sidewalk as I mentioned at the last meeting, we have a pretty big or detailed list of areas of our sidewalks that are probably the most dilapidated. We would try to compare that with those areas that meet the qualified income categories or the census block areas. We would marry those two. We would go out to bid, but we would go out to bid as one single project. And we would try to get as many of those things taken care of with the $375,000 that we absolutely could. I think the idea too also is that we don't want to just piecemeal in front of people's houses. We'd like to try to complete blocks. As long as they qualify, they qualify. But I think we want to take the worst sidewalks and get those fixed as part of this particular program. Does that make sense?
It does. I just want to make sure, are we going to put that bid out as a linear foot type of deal, or how are we, square foot?
We would try to identify those areas and try to get a cost for that, and then do bid alternatives to see if we have a base bid. I mean, the engineer's estimate will come up with about what it will cost per linear foot or square foot of concrete, of curb gutter, and then sidewalk. And then we would also have bid alternatives to add to that if we get good prices. So.
How far out of the main part of town would this go? Because part of the Council of Governments, they're working on a walkability for Hollister. So how would that meet the public's need in getting access to services, stores?
Generally,
On this
the
plan.
area of benefit, if you were to describe the census tracts that qualify, it's mostly the older part of Hollister, but also from Buena Vista Road, between Miller Avenue and Locust Avenue, and on the north side of San Juan Road. That's one big square area, I guess you could say. That's also serves as a corridor for Calaveras School. Another general area that you could say is between Line Street all the way to Sally Street, between Nash Road and North Street, Santa Ana Road, and then also between South Street, Line Street, and to the San Benito River and Nash Road.
Okay. Any other questions from council?
I have a couple of questions, Mr. Mayor. Do we have any data at all when it comes to residents in the city in those specific areas that need ADA for obviously for ADA purposes, need modifications or their sidewalks to be fixed? Do we have any type of data? I mean, I know that's kind of
I'm not sure
reaching.
if engineering is tracking that. I don't know.
Yeah, the only reason I ask is I know that we may want to consider making those priority, just because especially with the.
Are you talking about the curb cut specifically on some of those
No,
corners
he's
that
talking
don't
about-
have them?
Well, not really the curb cuts, but
Okay.
just because I know some of the electric wheelchairs don't have the space. The wheels seem to be smaller. It's just harder for them to get over lifted sidewalks. That's my main concern. Yeah, ADA curb ramps, curb cuts is also important, but all that together, I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know if that's some
The list
information that we
does
may have.
identify the lift height, so
Right.
that would be
Okay.
an easy way to start with the highest ones.
Okay. All right. And then in those areas that this does qualify, do we have any idea if there's any gaps that we need to close, and if this does qualify to cover those gaps?
In the Safe Routes to School plan for Calaveras School, there is some sidewalk gap there. There could be gap closure in the sidewalks.
And we're considering this for that. Awesome. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. No other questions from council? At this time, I will open it for public hearing. Do we have any speakers?
No.
I will now close it for public hearing.
Motion to approve Resolution 2014-178.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 4-0 vote, 401 abstaining. Move forward to item F1.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council.
Can you hold up for a second so we can have our Vice Mayor come back in?
All right,
Continue.
once
Thank
again,
you.
good evening, everyone. This matter is related to the proposed City of Hollister Water Softener Ordinance 1103. If adopted by the City Council, the ordinance will set forth uniform rules and regulations related to self-regenerating water softener appliances which produce high saline wastewater concentrations that discharge to our sanitary sewer system and ultimately filter into our groundwater basin. On July 21st, the City Council conducted the public hearing and had the first reading of the ordinance. During the public comment, Mr. Cliff Fashionat spoke on the item. He voiced his concerns. The next day, staff provided him with a copy of the draft ordinance and asked him to mark it up and get it back to us so that we can review what his concerns were. On August 13th, staff received the red line markup of the ordinance, and we met with him to allow him further opportunity to discuss and provide clarification of his comments, if necessary, as he had already indicated that he is the point person representing his organization and affiliates. Staff has reviewed the markup. Staff has also forwarded that markup ordinance to the Regional Water Quality Control Board for their review and comment. The Regional Water Quality Control Board's response was pointed and direct. They noted his suggested changes and said they appear to be frivolous. Further, in their comments, the Regional Board's only recommendation was to change the proposed ordinance to include not only sodium chloride, but potassium chloride regulations also. Staff agrees with the Regional Board's assessment and recommendation. Further, staff would also recommend added provision to be included under exceptions, which allows the city manager or the city manager's designee authorization to approve devices that do not contribute salt loading to the sanitary sewer. The purpose of this is to give industry and other folks a level of confidence that, or comfort that technologies that are out there, this is not a ban on water softeners. All it is prohibiting a certain type of water softener that discharges salt loading to the sanitary sewer. Everything else can be considered. With that, staff recommends that the City Council read by title only, waive full reading, and adopt Ordinance 1103, an ordinance of the City of Hollister prohibiting installation of certain water softeners. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions from council? Councilmember Friend?
Just a little clarification. So the way the ordinance is going to be written, it's going to be for any new construction or replacing of old. You won't be able to replace an old bad water softener with like. We'll have to go with the newer brand.
For residential, absolutely.
For residential. And we're going to do it, somehow we're going to notify people that may own the bad type, that they're not going to be able to replace that they're going to have to incur the expense of.
San Benito County Water District, the Water Resources Association, has been doing public education and outreach things for a number of years now. This has been around for a while. The City of Hollister has contributing funding to a rebate program to switch out those types of units for residents.
Because I understand the new ones are considerably more expensive than the older style that add salt to the water. But so there's a way that some of these people can get some help.
Yes, there is. There's a rebate program, and this year the City of Hollister has provided a share of funding to the Water Resources Association for that.
Also, Councilmember Friend, I don't know if you recall, but as your time on the Planning Commission, for maybe, 15 or 20 years now, the city of Hollister has been conditioning tentative maps with the prohibition of salt loading water softeners as part of their approval process. So a lot of the newer developments have recorded documents that are already restricted, so.
Yeah, so this is mostly going to affect retrofit.
Mhm. Yes.
And those are the ones that are hitting people in the pocket, not developers.
Does Santa Clara have this program in place? Because I would imagine a lot of people from San Bernardino County probably buy their water softeners from Santa Clara.
Which program is that?
Like Gilroy.
No, I don't understand your question.
Well-
Prohibition of water softeners.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
for,
I don't know if Santa Clara specifically has it, but it's throughout California. Several of the cities are. That is the trend. That's where they're going.
Councilmember Friend? I'm sorry, Councilmember Gomez?
No, I just wanted to, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to thank staff for working with the individual, sorry, I forgot his name. And I appreciate you guys collaborating with the Regional Water Quality Board, because I know we wanted to make sure that we were, we did receive a letter from Assemblymember Alejo, and I know that, I don't know what his concerns were with it, but I think it seems like we've alleviated all of those issues, so.
If I may, I want to sort of paraphrase a couple of correspondence that we received from the Regional Water Quality Control Board. This was back in June of this year. You know, it's basically, Danny, I've read the draft ordinance. I appreciate the opportunity to comment on it. All of the findings are well presented and true. The ordinance as originally written was fine. I don't know how the word got out there that we were banning water softeners. This is not a ban on water softeners. It is just a prohibition on a particular type of water softener that discharges high salinity concentrations to our sanitary sewer. There are other technologies that are out there, and that's just the way that things are going nowadays.
Yeah. All right, great. Well, Danny, I just wanted to thank you for collaborating with them and getting those issues resolved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Valdivia?
Yeah, I just want to say that I went to the last Waters Awareness, I think it's Water Association Awareness Program, where Sean's a coordinator. So he even from way before when I was on that committee, he was always doing, talking to folks, doing outreach, having workshops in terms of the softeners. And I think there still is a program. I'm pretty sure there's a program where folks can call in to get information if they want to replace their water softeners.
Yes.
And there's a rebate that goes with it. I'm not sure, I don't know which the type of water, but it's the one that you're talking about.
Exactly
So I would
right.
encourage the community to call the San Bernardino Water District. I don't have the number with me, but if they call into the office, I'm pretty sure somebody will give it to them. And so they can call Sean over there at that department where he works with the county.
Yeah, just
It's a very good
San
program.
Bernardino County Water District.
Yeah, San Bernardino
And
County, yeah.
they'll give them all the information that they need on the rebate program.
Just wanted to point out, too, that, we're right now investing millions of dollars in a new water treatment plant for the purpose of reducing the salt content, because that salt content does not meet the current state requirements,
Right.
which ends up costing us millions of dollars more to try to treat that water before it gets into our water table. An example would be we can't use our ponds for the water to percolate because the salt content is too high. So it just creates quite a few different problems for us, and that's the purpose of the new treatment plant, is to provide water that is softer without having to use all the other salt treatments that are out there and really are doing quite a bit of damage to our water table.
Absolutely.
Just want to thank you for the work you've done. Do we have a speaker?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Jim McCormick?
Mr. Mayor and Council, my name is Jim McCormick. I'm with Culligan Water. I brought my boss. I'll introduce him to you in a moment. We're here just basically, first I want to say thank you for the opportunity to address you. We want you to understand that we understand the problem, and we want to offer ourselves as part of the solution. It occurs to me that the public is going to have a lot of questions, and we are in a position to help them transition in this way and provide a low-cost and reliable alternative technology that will assist them in making this transition. So I'm going to give it to John. John is owner and COO of Culligan by Waterco.
Good evening, and thank you, council members and mayor. The last gentleman mentioned that, or I believe the gentleman over here mentioned that this is an issue that's been around for a while. Yeah, this isn't a new topic. I stood before you guys about 15 years ago talking about a very similar issue when you were considering alternatives to the very same problem that you have today. Yours is a little bit unique. Your water coming into the city is high in chlorides, and it's a challenge to get it to comply, and we get it. And we've been helping the folks and businesses, homeowners, San Benito and Santa Clara County for over 60 years from our offices in Santa Clara solve their water treatment problems. And as Jim indicated, we'd like to help as best we can. The bit of a challenge for homeowners is the problem with hardness. It's great to hear that you guys are doing something at a municipal level to help. The problems associated with hard water are significant. People invest a lot in their homes, their plumbing, their appliances, and these are things that are all negatively affected by the presence of hardness in water. And the more there is, the worse the problems, the greater the cost. We can still help you guys comply and meet your discharge requirements, and at the same time help your homeowners protect their investments in the businesses, provide good products, restaurants, nice clean silverware, spot-free glasses, and all the great stuff that they want to be able to serve their customers. It is interesting that it seems like that in California, and water is always a big issue. Whether it's having enough of it or the quality of it, and it doesn't matter where in the state you are or what community that you're in, and here this one really hits close to home. I can tell you that in Santa Clara County, they currently do not have a ban or any type of restriction other than the ones that are statewide, but they don't have your problem. They don't have the chloride issue that you have, or to the level it does. If I could beg another minute, I know Jim has just a couple of final comments. I think this is a big enough topic that hopefully you'll indulge us.
Please continue.
Thank you. The solution for the homeowner that seems to be the most obvious, the most reliable, the most cost-effective, is to take advantage of the opportunity for organizations like ours to install portable exchange softening equipment that can be removed from the homeowner's place of residence or the business and regenerated off-site in a facility like ours in Santa Clara, where we are licensed and permitted to do that work, and then exchange that tank for a fresh tank for the homeowner, and they can continue to use and enjoy the benefits of softened water. One of our concerns is that some of the alternative technologies are a bit suspicious in terms of their ability to do what needs to be done with the water. So if we can be of any assistance in helping get a message that is clear and that is fair and that is complete, we hope that you will call on Culligan and consider us a partner in this project. And we applaud you.
Thank you for coming out tonight.
You bet.
Are there any other questions from council? Do we have any other speaker cards?
No, Mr. Mayor.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to go ahead and approve read by title only and adopt ordinance number 1103.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, 5-0 vote. Move forward to item F2.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is the second portion of the ordinance. We read the first, had the first reading at the last council meeting. This is to adopt CFD 4 and the Rakovich 22 project down on the end of San Benito Street. As you know, the construction has begun down there, and so if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them. Otherwise, staff recommends we waive full reading and adopt ordinance number 1104.
Okay, is there any questions from council? No? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to go ahead and read by title only and adopt ordinance number 1104.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, 5-0 vote. Move forward to item F3.
Yes, Mayor and council members, this resolution relates to the previous resolution for transfer of the successor agency property. This would authorize the city of Hollister to accept the grant deed to transfer the property, the 400 block property, to the city of Hollister. We're recommending that you adopt resolution 2014-179, authorizing the city of Hollister to accept the grant deeds so that it will become your property.
Any questions from council?
What
Councilmember
would
Friend?
happen if we did not accept it? The state put on there, right?
No, we would have to have a plan to sell it because we have to dispose our assets. So if the city didn't accept it, then it would have to be, we would probably have to go back and amend our plan and determine, I think the alternative in the plan was to try have a develop and disposition agreement for a project, but we were hoping that it wouldn't be a fire sale. We wanted to make sure we got the right project because it's a important location in our community.
Any other questions from council? Do we have any speaker cards?
No.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we approve 2014-179.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, 5-0 vote. Move forward to item F4.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm Mary Gilbert, Interim Executive Director for the Council of Governments. This item before you is an amended joint powers agreement that establishes the Council of Governments. It's a joint agreement between the City of Hollister, the City of San Juan Bautista, and San Benito County. And the amendment that we're bringing to you tonight adds an ex officio member to the Council of Governments, which is a representative from Caltrans District 5 in San Luis Obispo. So we're asking for approval of this amendment tonight that will allow Caltrans to sit at the table with the Council of Governments at our meetings. However, they will not have a vote.
Well, that sounds good.
No, that's hard to believe that.
It doesn't make a difference.
Is there questions from council? Councilmember Friend?
I just can't believe that they haven't been sitting there.
We had the discussion a few years ago, and there was some resistance from certain unnamed board members that didn't feel that that was a good thing. So we decided to revisit the item, and I believe it was unanimous support. Yeah. So, yeah.
Any other questions from council? Just wanted to point out the reason this is so important is we are trying to put a focus on Highway 25 to do the improvements that are needed out there, and we need Caltrans at the table so they understand how important this is to us and put a little fire under them. Do we have any speaker cards?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve 2014-180.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries, 5-0 vote. Move forward to item G1, reports from city council members regarding their committees. Councilmember Gomez?
I didn't have any committee appointments or meetings.
Councilmember Valdivia?
Yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit of information. When I went to the Water Association Awareness, I think, district meeting, where Sean is a manager, as a coordinator, he's a manager. I want to share just that to the folks out in the community, that we do have a program where they will come in and check your home to make sure you don't have any leaks, replace toilets with slow flow, and also with, like we were discussing earlier, with the water softeners, they have information, there's a rebate for that, like there's also rebates for the other things that they do. So they also do the sprinklers, et cetera, in your yard. So I would encourage the community to make sure that they link up with that information. And Sean's really good about putting things in, putting stuffers in the bills. I think the water bills, I think we got something this last time, and in English and Spanish, and he does very well with the resources he has to translate in easy Spanish so folks can understand. I just wanted to encourage folks to hook up with that program, because it's a really good program and it's working. And he reports a lot of folks that well, the month that I was there, he reported a lot of folks that were calling in for services concerning the things that I was talking about. So, and if you want the number, if you can call City Hall, they will give you the number, for that department. Thank you.
Councilmember Friend?
No, my committees did not meet because for unavailability for most of the members. I'll explain that later in my report.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Nothing to report, thank you.
Thank you very much. Move forward to item F2. This is for informational reports from City Council. Councilmember Gomez?
No, actually, the only thing I want to say now is congratulations to Jerry Johnson on her 29 years with the City of Hollister. I was 28, 29 years old when I decided to run for City Council, and even though my family, my brother was a mayor and council member, my dad and my grandpa were all politically involved, no matter what, I felt totally nervous coming in here and pulling papers. And I think that's nerve-wracking for anybody that's going to run for any office. And so I remember coming in here, and you were the first person I met here. And we sat down right there at that table 6 years ago, and I felt a lot better after we met and went through all of our paperwork and all of that good stuff. And I think the credit is all to you, because you really know how to work with people. I believe you are the face of the City of Hollister. When people walk in, they see you. Billy's in the back, thank God. But so Jerry's right in the front. But I think that's a really good thing for our community, and you're an asset to the city. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Councilmember Valdivia?
Yeah, also, I also wanted to welcome Councilman Stevenson. Sherry, welcome to the council. You're going to have a great time. It's going to be a short time. You're going to have a good time. And also for Jerry, I mean, 29 reasons, I could probably think about another 20. But, I really appreciate Jerry. One thing that's really important for me that she does for me personally, being on the council, she always reminds us of the meetings if we're going to be changing the dates so we can all be here on time and on the right date, and I really appreciate that. Because, a lot of us have a lot of busy schedules, and I want to make sure I don't double duty myself. I've done that at least once or twice during my lifetime in my in my other job. But thank you, and I really appreciate all those 29 reasons. I think that you could have had more. Thank you for your service. Thank you. That's all I have.
Councilmember Friend?
I've only known Jerry 18 years in different committees and different functions with the city, and I just can't imagine what the city would be like if you weren't running the show.
We'll find out one of these days.
No, we won't.
And that will be when I end my city development, too. No, it's just so you know, Jerry, the city's a better place because you're here.
Thank you.
And also, I'd like to report on the reason that the mayor and I missed our meetings last week was we were able to go to the California League of Cities convention in Los Angeles. And that was my first trip to one of those, and it's pretty exciting. because you get to talk to people from 419 other cities and find out that our problems, as bad as we have them, there are worse, there are better, but they all have, it seems like they all are talking about the same thing. And if you go through the vendors fair, you'll catch on real quick that the big hitter is financing the city, financing the budget, dealing with problems with the budget, CalPERS issues. Then there was a lot of stuff done, and I need to talk to the fire chief about consolidation issues, and I want you to be happy that when we went to that meeting, we were way ahead of a lot of those people. We have really, I used you as an example and several times to explain to other cities that are struggling with their firefighting, and counties also, that we've already stepped up and the pitfalls that we fell into, and the great service that we've found out that we can offer. Then there was a lot of other really exciting areas that the mayor and I fell into and started talking. In fact, on the 5-hour drive home, we solved all the problems. We just have to figure out a way to get it out to the city so they can agree with us. So, but that's my report. And I know once I sort through all the information I picked up and remember exactly what was said by everybody, I'll report back on some of the areas that we need to work on. So that's all.
Thank you. Councilmember Stevenson.
Well, I would like to thank Jerry for all her years of service, and she has definitely made me feel very welcome and much more comfortable. I was so nervous tonight, and you just made me feel so much better. Thank you.
I too would like to thank Jerry. I know Jerry from way back, and I used to refer to her as the lights on queen, because she would come by my buildings and make sure that I was going to turn my lights on for the lights on parade and all the fun stuff we did back then with all the different type of lighting. So she's obviously a major asset here in the city.
Thank you.
And
I wish the buildings were lit up again.
well, we'll work on that again. As Councilmember Friend said, we were at the conference this last week, and it was, as he pointed out, it was nice to talk to other cities and brag about what we're doing and watch them listen to us as we explain what was going on with our fire department and what we're doing with the homeless issue and on. And to see other cities really look at us as role models was pretty exciting. And as we walked through the conference, we picked up so many different ideas and ways to save the city money, not just now, but long term. We looked at a new system we've been hoping to find somewhere, that's gray water treatment, which could save us millions of dollars just by implementing something so simple, because it keeps us from having to build or expand the treatment plant that we have. And this is a very simple item that we just have to work on to get this, these improvements. And we also found some new techniques for the improvement of our roads. So we're actually going to go to a few surrounding cities that have used some of these techniques to see what we can do. And in one of the conversations, and I hope this one works itself out, I was having a conversation with the city of Watsonville, a few council members, and we started talking about skate parks. And in that conversation, it turned out that they were going to do some changes to their skate park, so I happened to mention that we'd be happy to pick up the equipment they have now, which they said they'd be happy to give us. And we're hoping that that works out. So a lot of good ideas. We picked up another great idea for working with or having interns help us here at the city. All of us on the council are busy and we need some help. So that would be a good idea to move forward and start to accomplish some of the items that Councilmember Friend and I found out there. But I wanted to take a moment to thank our city manager. And I love this story because we were, Councilmember Friend and I were driving down the Highway 5, and I received a text message from a citizen about a beeping sound they could hear for the last 3 days coming from one of the street lights, and how they couldn't sleep and what could they do to stop this as the weekend was approaching. So I sent a text message to Bill to see what he could do about it. 15 minutes later, I received a text message back from Bill saying, yeah, this is pretty loud. I thought, you're actually at the site? And he went to go investigate the noise and what could be done. 30 minutes later, I received a text message back from the citizen saying, thank you. I don't know how you did that so quickly, but thank you. And we did it because we have a city manager like Mr. Rivera that cares about his city and is showing the rest of us, all of us, how important it is to make sure that we remember what our jobs are here, is to take care of our citizens. So thank you very much, Bill. Now it's up to you. You're next, city manager.
About 1,000 things I didn't do last week.
We're not going to talk about those.
Okay. I'm really looking forward to hearing about your 5-hour trip back. I'm sure there's a honeydew
Lots
list in
of
there
stories.
somewhere. Yeah, right. First things first, apparently none of the 29 things that I contributed to the list made it on Jerry's, because apparently I was not positive enough. So I apologize for that.
Constructive criticism
Yeah, there
is
you go.
always good,
I'll
right?
share with you my 29 in the morning. On another note, I found out a week or so ago, and I found out absolutely way too late. I apologize, but we lost Al Martinez a few weeks back. And Al Martinez was the first executive director of the Economic Development Corporation here for the city of Hollister, and did a lot of work for Hollister and the county of San Benito. And if it behooves the council, I would like to have you close tonight's meeting in memory of him or in honor of him. So thank you very much for that. And also, at our retreat back in April, one of the projects that I begun working on with some of the staff is a retirement program. And I met with Councilperson Valdivia on Friday, shared a couple of ideas. I think it's ready for the council to take a look at. I was wondering if the council would be available on either Monday, September 22nd or Monday, September 29th for a special study session to address that, and maybe another issue or two if it comes up. So, and whatever day works best for you folks is fine with us.
Okay, thank you. We'll let you know.
Okay.
City Attorney?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I have nothing to report at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief?
Two things, we just finished a submission for CalGrip, so we'll cross our fingers. A lot of cool stuff on that grant, including PAL. And the second thing is a reminder, October 11th, again, Red Ribbon Run, 8:30 is registration time, 400 block of Samuel Street. It's for a great cause, and I hope it's the first of many that we do downtown. Thank you.
And I can walk that, right?
You can walk that, yes.
I'll run what I can, but I'll walk
Okay.
the rest. City Clerk?
Well, actually, I was going to remind everyone that the Lights On celebration is upon us. It will be November 29th. It's always a Saturday after Thanksgiving. So if anyone's interested in participating or volunteering, they can call me or the Hollister Downtown Association. And thank you and everyone for all the kind words.
You
Very
deserve
nice.
it all. Councilmember Friend has a comment.
Yeah, and thank you, Billy, for bringing up the Al Martinez, and we also lost a former police officer with the city of Hollister. Andy Burgess was tragically hit riding a motorcycle in Gilroy. Word of the warning, and you got to watch the other people when you're riding a motorcycle. Anyhow, he died last week, and I believe his services is Friday the 12th.
The 17th
The 17th,
are his
I'm sorry.
services, the Masonic Lodge in Gilroy.
in
Morgan Hill.
Yeah, Morgan Hill, that's right.
Morgan Hill, yeah. So I would like to add his name to Al Martinez tonight to close the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move forward with item G3, appointments for the Oversight Board and for COG. With the approval or the permission of the council, I'd like to appoint Councilmember Friend to the Oversight Board. and appoint myself to COG. Does that
So
work with
moved.
the council by consensus?
So move.
So moved.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
I think Pauline made the first, I'll make the second.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0 vote. Thank you very much for that. Item G4.
Good evening, council members. I apologize, I just got word that one of our tenants was killed at Reno Air Races today, so.
At the where?
Reno Air Races, so apologize for that. But anyway.
Who was?
Lee Beal, he's one of our jet pilots, always opened the show. He's a heck of a guy. He flew F-4 fighter jets for Reno Air National Guard for years and years and years and years. He's been racing up there for 20 years. He's truly a really good guy. But I'm here tonight to talk about our fifth air show. As you're aware, we moved it to Father's Day weekend this year in the hopes that it would affect the attendance in a positive manner. Initial feedback was very positive about the show. People enjoyed it. I know the city manager thoroughly enjoyed jumping out of an airplane at the show. I could hear him all the way down as I was standing out there waiting to receive him.
Screams of joy.
They were. I will attest to that. He wanted to do it again. I said no, not during the show. We got to let the other performers go. The schedule worked well. The facility worked well. That was the first use of Chief Westrick's barricades, so we didn't have to run a fence this year. That all worked out. All in all, those things went well. We did identify several areas of improvement. For the last 2 years, we've been hiring an outside security contractor to provide security at the entrance gate. Unfortunately, that didn't work out for us this year. Also, due to some things that were way beyond our control, our cost controls got a little away from us this year. We had to replace a performer at the last minute because of a tragic accident. And due to moving the dates, there was a softball tournament, I guess, up in Santa Clara County that nuked just about every hotel in the world. So our hotel costs were up 30–40%. All in all, we had 2,300 people that paid to come to the air show. We know we had more than that. And of that, we check zip codes when people come in. 44% was a local audience, meaning 56% was from out of the area. By out of the area, that means Gilroy, Salinas, etc. Our biggest number of out of the area was San Jose. 10% of the attendees came from San Jose down to see the show. Ultimately, our revenues were $38,000. The expenditures were $64,000, leaving a deficit of about $26,000. It was $25,000 and some change. We identified some of the reasons that occurred, as mentioned before. One of the biggest was gate leakage. I believe Councilman Friend knows that firsthand, and we lost from anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 on one day just through the gate leakage. So ultimately, it brings up the question, where do we go from here? In your report, I identified 3 different options that have been used in the past. The first is cancellation. The airport budget really can't afford a $25,000 hole in it every year. I mean, it just can't. So that would plug the hole, and it's also probably the easiest thing to do. Another option some air shows use are alternate years. They do air shows every other year. It works for them because they have a jet team. Anytime you have a jet team, you know you're going to have 200,000 people show up at your air show. I would not recommend it for this air show because it's going to be too confusing for our audience, and it will not be an effective answer. The other option is to make it an annual event. If we do that, my recommendation is that we have the airport put in 2% of the revenues, just straight up right now, $15,000 into the air show. Most nonprofits use about 10% of their revenues as an advertising figure. This is the only advertising the airport does, is the air show. So using 2% of the budget to do that, I think, is a defendable position and a logical position, because we cannot buy the goodwill we get from this event with the people that attend if we were handing out that money standing on the corner. Our sponsorships did increase this year. We increased them by about $5,000 through some hard work and some very dedicated volunteers. Obviously, we would work that angle. But the Airport Commission, it was suggested, and the Airport Commission agreed it was a good idea, that perhaps the general fund could match that $15,000 with another $15,000 to cover the event. The Airport Commission did vote unanimously to go ahead and recommend to have another air show, assuming that the general fund kicked in the 15 and the airport kicked in the 15.
Okay. Do we have questions from council?
Yeah.
Councilmember Friend?
Mike, first of all, thank you for your honesty in your report. I see some things in there where we stubbed our toe and you pointed them out, and when the good things you pointed them out too. So, and your recommendations are well thought out, and I think it probably bothers you in some of those recommendations, because I know how behind the air show you are, and I agree with you. I think it's an asset, and I would like the council to kind of not make a decision tonight, to maybe put this on the agenda down the road a couple weeks, to where we have some discussion with other people, and maybe there's some other alternatives out there that we can get some more sponsorship, or you know, maybe there's another group out there we can get behind the air show. I don't know what the alternatives are, but I would like to think about this and maybe work on some of these alternatives you've offered and see which one's the best one, rather than make a snap decision tonight that one is either going to cost the general fund $15,000, or two, we're going to lose a hell of an asset. Because even in your report, you point out that there was a pretty good economic input for that weekend to the city and to the county. And I just hate to make a quick judgment without chewing on this for a while, and maybe coming up with some other sponsors or some other way to pay for this.
Yeah, and obviously, I don't think that Mike is asking the council to make a decision this evening. I mean, we would come back to you with a formal request and resolution for additional funds. I think what he's basically lining up for you is sort of what the Airport Commission has suggested. And I think that it's important for me to also give you a recommendation. I honestly believe that the air show, what Mike does out at the airport, is absolutely imperative for the airport itself and the community. Whether you go to the air show or not and you live here, that's whatever that happens to be. But having the commercials running on television, talking about Hollister, talking about the airport, talking about the fact that we have some skydiving here, talking about we have ladder, we have a lot of things here that people can do. I talked to Mike, if we move forward with another air show, one of the things that I would like to see is actually more advertisement or more commercial advertisement in the Bay Area's television. I think you know, throwing, even though it costs a little bit more for us to do that, and maybe we'll address that, but you're hitting a much larger market than you are the 300,000 or 500,000 people that are in the Monterey Bay area. You know, it's nicer to hit 3 million people up there. And having Mike have those numbers, and thank you to the volunteers that got the zip codes, because it is important that if over half of the people that are attending aren't coming from here, hopefully they are spending money somewhere else here, at least $1 or $2, or buying gas. It doesn't really matter. I think that bringing those folks here is important to this community. So I think the other thing that Mike sort of needs to do is, we don't want to put it off too long, kind of like the motorcycle rally, is that we need to start preparing for next year's event, if in fact we have an event next year. These things take time to put together, and I know that's one of the things that
I agree, and in some of the committee meetings, there was talk about the use of some social media for advertising, and we never really got that off. This year got that off the ball, and I think there's an excellent group, some excellent groups up there that could help us do that and get the word out to the Bay Area more, a way to get it out there to the people in the Bay Area. So I agree with you, Mike. I think it's something that's worth chewing on for a while. I don't think it's worth just, and we need to be concerned about the $25,000. That's a big hole. But I think we need to look at alternatives and see if there's some other way we can, because I agree with you. We get a lot of good, positive advertisement out of
Yeah,
that.
from the general fund's perspective, that $15,000, if that's a commitment or whatever the commitment happens to be, I think that we make that back 100 times over the year, and even from that particular
I agree, but I
event.
just want to make sure that when we do make the move, whichever move it is, we can explain it to people. So that's where we want to be.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
Sorry, I just wanted to give my 2 cents.
Councilmember Gomez?
Yeah, thank you, Mike, for the report out, and obviously for all the work that you do throughout the year, but what you know, specifically during that weekend, because I know it's extremely busy. This, you know, obviously was, I mean, looking at the numbers, this is our first time doing it on Father's Day, and you know, looking at the attendance, I mean, I think, you know, I think we made some pretty good decisions when it came to rescheduling this event and all of that. And looking at the profit and loss statement, I mean, you know, my concern obviously is the $25,000 that we're losing. If this was a break-even event, and I understand the economic impact of it, but you know, if this was a break-even event, it would be a lot easier to swallow these results. Now, if the mayor and my fellow council members want to talk about general fund monies being used for it, I'm fine with having that discussion. I don't know if I would actually support that, but I'm fine with having that discussion. I think it's a really good event, and I think we need to look at every single option to be able to bring this thing back without having to use general fund subsidies and airport subsidies as well. You know, I mean, we need to, there's a passionate group of pilots and aircraft supporters out there, not just in our airport, but, you know, around the Monterey Bay Area and the Silicon Valley. So I think that we can motivate the group enough to be able to have some fundraising efforts to be able to help pay for this event. So I think we need to explore all the options. And like Councilmember Friend said, I'm not ready to, I need to digest all this information and cry a little bit, so it was a little bit better. But, and I'm trying to, you know, obviously as a pilot, I'm trying not to be biased here, but it is an awesome event. I'm very excited that we have it annually. And like Councilmember Friend said, you know, if we could just look at this sometime in the near future and kind of allow a few weeks to evaluate the information, I think that would be good for all of us. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. You know, I look at this, your report, I'm not ready to cry at all here. Actually, I'm seeing positive signs here. if you had several people that did not pay, we still see an increase of 400 people, include the people that did not pay, we're close to 1,000 more paid or more people visiting. I think it's really more of an issue of kind of restructuring the event. Your past years, you've been using $38,000 for your services, and this year we're up at $61,000. And I'm sure there's reasons for it, but I think really it's a matter of getting a little more detail and understanding what's going on here. I see nothing but an upside here. I see an increase. I think the weekend was a perfect weekend, the Father's Day weekend. I think it's just looking at this differently. It was mentioned by Councilmember Friend, the social media. City manager pointed out promotion in the Bay Area, which is important because we want to promote the airport, but we want to promote our community. So along with that promotion, we could be promoting the skydiving or the gliders or the wineries or Visit Hollister. Is the end result is what we're looking for here, not just an air show. Air show is great for us, but we're looking to bring in visitors. So I think it's just a matter of revamping what's going on here. So I think it's going to take some time to sit down and understand all your numbers here. These are not, in detail, obviously, but understanding those numbers fully, I see positive growth here. Just a matter of reallocating some dollars, and I could see this coming back in a positive next year if we do that. We just have to look at that and commit to how we're spending those dollars and what our goal or who our clientele is. So, are there any speakers?
I have a comment after this. After you finish your
Marty
report.
Richard from Hollister. I'm sorry, were you speaking? Did you say something?
No, she was going to speak after you.
Oh,
no.
Do you want to speak first?
Oh, no, after you.
Oh, okay.
After you.
Marty Richard from Hollister. I haven't seen the report, and I'll take a look at it. I'm interested in really doing an analysis on the report. The simple numbers, we spent this much, and this was the gate, and this is what we think. I think that's a simplistic way from a business point of view to look at things. I'm not downgrading anybody's ability. I'm just saying that's not normally the way a for-profit business would look at it. And I'm not saying you have to make a profit. I'm just saying you wouldn't look at it that way. For instance, I would like to get kind of a feeling for what would happen if we had a wow event at the show. It would cost more, but in the end, it may wind up paying for itself 3 times over if you look at it. Obviously, this is driven by attendance. So if the whole thing's driven by attendance, eventually it all drives by attendance because the more people you get, the more money you can charge for vendors and so on and so forth. If it's all driven by attendance, then the question is how do you drive the attendance? And it may be worthwhile actually to put some more money in it, or if you look at it another way, depending on how the analysis comes out, it may be worthwhile not to. I can't say because I don't know. But if we get people, there is a core of people who will go to every air show. And if we just keep drawing that core, yes, that's good for us, and it's good for the county, but we won't improve those numbers. We've got to figure out a way to up that number. And advertising is one way. It's always because the core, you come out with more core. But the question is how many people looked at our advertising, even who did see it, and said, wow, I've got to go see that, whatever that happens to be. I don't know. In other words, and I go to the air show, and basically, a lot of times, much of the staple items in an air show are the same items, whether you go here, there, or everywhere, it's over and over. But occasionally, you get a wow factor. And I don't know what that is because I don't know what's available and how many $1 billion they charge to do it. Okay, but it would be good to try it perhaps once, not only up the advertising, but put in something really juicy one time and say we're not committing to this for 20 years. We're just going to see what happens. If we can offer that, how does that impact the attendance? Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Valdivia.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Mike for all the work. I know what it's like to organize, and you have to do it with a lot of volunteers because you just can't pay everybody, and that, you know, it's a lot of work and commitment from folks. I appreciate all the work you do. I know you're out there hustling all the time to get the thing together. I'm also concerned about, of course, of the money because we can't continue to work in the red. And I think this is the first time we were in the red. In the other years, were we in the red? I don't remember.
One time when it rained during the show.
Pardon me?
One year it rained during the show.
That's
and
right, yeah.
We
Well,
were in
that
the
was,
red
you
that
know,
year,
I'm
pretty
sure.
bad.
But I think that, you know, I agree. I think that it's a good function for the community, and marketing it also is a big piece of it, you know. And of course, there has to be funds, but I think in the long run, it'll be worthwhile to market it way out more than just the general area. I think that would probably work more. And then I know we're going to decide that you got to do it right away because you got to get going, you know. So I support doing it again, but I also want to see if there's any options that can help us, you know, with the costs, maybe you can get somebody like Fluffy to be there. You know who Fluffy is?
Gabriel Iglesias?
His name is Fluffy.
I know
You know,
Fluffy.
you don't know Fluffy?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, Gabriel Iglesias. If we can be there.
I would be a hero to my kids if I got in there.
If you can be there just to be there, boy, that would be
We
a
had
draw.
Elvis this year.
Pardon me?
We had Elvis this year. Elvis and the Hound Dogs were there.
Or maybe you could get the flying Elvises, right? To come down and fly. Sometimes you need a catch, you know, for folks to be there besides the air show. A little bit of everything, but that's what makes it, you know, good for everybody. But you don't want to lose the focus of the air show. But I just thought about Fluffy right now. It's just, you know, laughing, and I go, he goes all over the place, and he's very funny. But anyway, he's a draw. You know, either way, he's a draw, just so folks like to see him and talk to him. But anyway, that's my opinion, and I appreciate the work you do, and hopefully that we can move forward with this year. We won't, because we can't continue. If we're going to be doing that all the time, it's not going to be good, you know, to be in the red all the time, you know. Just like with, you know, with the rally for a while, it was hard. Yeah, so that's all the comment I have.
Just wanted to add to, you know, it wasn't too long ago we were losing money with the rally. Now we're making money with the rally. That's not our ultimate goal, but by understanding your numbers and your target group, we can change this. You have an increase in attendance. This can be changed pretty quickly, so.
If I can also add one other thing, I would also like to thank Mike because this is not an easy thing to put together. And then I went to his wrap-up meeting that was just about 3-4 weeks ago, and I also want to thank all the volunteers that actually participate. That he has probably like 20 sort of lead volunteers that all have a number of volunteers that are underneath them, and they just put so much time and effort into this thing. It's actually pretty incredible how much work a lot of those folks put into this thing. So that's something that once you get that ball rolling, that to keep it going is I think is important. So anyway, I wanted to thank all of them and thank you too. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Move forward with item G5.
Good evening. Mark Tognazini. The agenda I said it was representing the family. Well, not just the family, but the committee and everybody that contributed and all the volunteers. It was quite a project, and really a tribute to Eric in the sense that, you know, put together a statue that's in excess of $50,000 is really, you know, meaningful what the people thought of him. And it ended up with a nice piece of, you know, public art, which is, you know, about a month or two from completion. So David's got some drawings here that fit into the plan that he's developing for the 4th and San Benito location. And that's actually what we're going to do here is we're asking approval of the placement at 4th and San Benito with a specific spot to be worked into that plan that he is developing. So he actually had a spot for it on that plan that he built some time ago, as you'll see on the plan. And that may not be the appropriate place, but wherever it fits the best as the design comes forward. So essentially, we would like to get approval from the council for the placement at the corner, and then specific spot to be integrated into the plan for that corner. And then maybe David could talk a little bit more about the specific placement and how he sees it going down.
Before I, thank you, Mark. Before I talk about it, I just wanted to say, I think it was about 6 years ago, I was a frayed bundle of nerves when I walked up the city council steps, and thank goodness there was, I don't know what got into me, I pulled papers to run for city council. But thank goodness there was Jerry Johnson to calm me down. So, and not only has Jerry done a lot of work for the city, but she does a lot of community service work, like for Relay for Life. I'll never forget that night where Doug Emerson and I walked and walked and walked. All 24 hours. Yeah. So thanks a lot, Jerry. And thank you, Sherry, for stepping up and responding to the call of civic duty and joining the city council. We appreciate that. But just to give you a little background on this 400 block, I've done a lot of work on this. As we know that there are some difficulty factors associated with the site. It's right near an earthquake fault, so we have some limitations on what we actually can do without going through a lot of expense. The ad hoc committee that I was approached from the city council, I was asked to come up with some sketches to commemorate the bikers rally. Of course, that's not the only thing that we can do with the city 400 block. There are other ideas. I know Marty Richmond has some ideas also. But for Eric Tognazzini, who we all knew, and he was a friend of the Top Hatters, well loved in the community. I loved him like a brother. I mean, I always put a smile on my face. So when I was asked to help the Eric Tognazzini organization come up with some ideas, you know, I just jumped at the chance because, you know, I really love the guy and I miss him today. So what you see here, this sketch, and I apologize for the reproduction of it because, you know, it was last minute. I didn't even know it was going to be on the agenda, so I made some copies. It came out a little dark, but you see that on this sketch here where there's a lot going on that we have, you know, commemorative pavers, a commemorative veteran biker wall, perhaps, a water feature, benches, an outdoor amphitheater, and also a stage, some restrooms, a mural. But you'll see that I indicate the Eric Tognazzini statue tangent to the public sidewalk, about 2/3 of the way down from the corner of 4th Street and San Benito. And that's not the, that location, we could possibly refine that. We could also, we could mount it on a concrete pad with bolted in if we have to, if we go ahead and perhaps we come up with a different concept. This is just a conceptual site plan. If we come up with a different concept in the future, maybe we do something different. We can always move this, move the statue to a different location. But I think that right where at this position here, it has flexibility to entertain a variety of different uses, a variety of different concepts that the community might entertain or might bring to you as a board. But I certainly would be in favor of placing it on the 400 block. In fact, I would even like to see it at the corner of 4th and San Benito, but you know, I'm just one person, so. But I'm here to answer any questions that you have, because I know this is just for discussion.
Councilmember Friend.
And I know I've been working with David for quite a while on this plan, and when I look at where we're looking at in this drawing, placing it, I would be concerned with all the other activities that go on currently on the block, that it might get vandalized because it's going to be sitting right where, you know, the kids are going to be playing on the lawn and stuff, where if it was on the other side, on the already, where the concrete is there facing the building, that area seems to get less traffic than it would sitting out next to the sidewalk. I just wonder about, you know, during the rally or any of the other functions that are going on, even if it's during the farmer's market, with all the action that goes on right there. I'm just wondering, it might get some vandalized issues there if we just put it right there on the sidewalk. And I'm not suggesting either one is better than the other. I would just be concerned if we put it on next to the sidewalk that it might get some vandalizing. Where I think if it was closer to the parking garage, right there on that walkway, right in that section, it would get less traffic or less likelihood that somebody would climb on it or jump on it or hang something on it or paint it or whatever would be in their ideas. That's a final comment. I support the idea and I support the project, and even I support putting it somewhere on the 400 block. I would not support on the corner, because I think we have some other ideas there, but I think it's an appropriate place for this to be. I just hope we could move it over to the other side of the lot, but I'd like to hear what Mike has to say about that too, so.
Any other questions from council?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Billy, the only concern I would have is there's still plans, because now the property's gonna belong to the city, right? Because you're gonna transfer it over. But are the plans still in place to either do some business there and/or understood that the college, Government College, would, you know, at one time was interested in maybe expanding the school part that they have there at the Briggs Building.
Yeah, well,
That's a concern I have right now. I don't know if there's any plans for any activity, anything to happen there.
Well, as Mary explained a little bit earlier, the transfer of the property now went to the city, or in that process. So, the idea is that, yes, that property is to be redeveloped as a catalyst piece. We will continue to work on finding an appropriate business or building or something to go on there at some point. In the interim, I know that the council has provided some direction to utilize that space as a community area for the rally, for some of those other things that are going
Like a park?
on. Yes. And let's be careful how we call it. We don't necessarily want to call it a park.
No, not park.
I mean, but
It'll turn into a park.
yeah, because once you have a park, you're never going to have anything but a park, and that's not the goal. I'm going to put my redevelopment hat back on and say,
Yeah,
please let
okay,
it not
put
be
it
a
on.
park. I mean, it's the busiest corner in town, and it needs to. We need to continue to look at it from that perspective. So. As Ray mentioned, I think there are some things that we'd like to do on the 400 block, and ultimately, I would love to see a building built there, obviously. But.
Dave, and did you guys, your committee, you wanted it to be like in downtown? Did you look at any other areas, possible areas?
We did, and
I'm not saying yes or no here, I'm just trying to get information.
yes, we did, and one of the places is, that we considered is actually in the Veterans Plaza vicinity.
And the Veterans?
In front of the Veterans Building. And, you know, when I look at it, when I was asked to do a sketch, I did a sketch to show the integration of the statue with the landscape features, which I designed, 12, 13 years ago. I'm not thinking, I know it's for the veterans, the Veterans Plaza, but I was looking at it in terms of just having a space for it. And I did have, when I did the design of the plaza, I had a space for a kiosk that never was implemented. So there's a nice little, area there that's, out of the way for pedestrians to walk around it. But I totally understand the other viewpoint with the veterans. In fact, I have my uncle's paver there, commemorative paver, who perished in World War II. And so I totally know, and my heart is with the veterans for that location. I can understand their viewpoint. But I also know that Eric was really was part of the kind of the motorcycle community for almost with the top headers, and I'm thinking that this place, we have plenty of space there in the 400 block for a building, or, you know, I don't know if I really agree with the city manager if it has to be a park or not a park. I think it can be a little bit of both. You know, we can have some features, indoor, outdoor features, if you will, you know, like a lot of times you have, if you go down to like Charleston, South Carolina, it's a kind of different layout with the grid. It's more of a grid layout, but what's really neat there is you have areas, little pocket parks with a statue and some benches to sit around and to just have a nice place to reflect during a hectic day. I mean, and still have a lot of other things to entertain there as a multifunctional space. Did I answer your question?
I know. Yeah, because I was also, you know, when you were all getting collections, you know, donations and everything when you're working on it, I used to think, well, maybe Dunn Park, because your mom and him, they used to live close to Dunn Park, right? The house was on 7th Street?
For me, for Dunn Park, I mean, it's a nice location, but it doesn't get the show.
Yeah, it's a way off.
People
yeah.
don't see it, you know.
It's a way
I
off,
mean, very
the
few
main
people are gonna
course.
go there, and
Yeah.
I mean, yes, he lived near it, but he really didn't hang out there. I mean, he hang out on San Benito Street.
'Cause a lot of people use the facility for a whole lot of reasons, but the traffic is not as much as being downtown, I understand that.
Well,
And I was gonna ask you, is this a finished product, this one?
But, well, pretty much. It's not,
It's nice.
it's all done. The whole thing is cast in bronze, except for the head, which is we're actually gonna do the final look at it the end of the week here. And
Okay.
yeah. So at any rate, I think that it'll fit in that corner, and then where we're gonna do that is gonna be on a slab of granite or whatever. I mean, it could be positioned wherever it's appropriately fits into that plan. So if we could just get approval to put it at that corner, wherever it appropriately fits.
And I was gonna say, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if, or maybe I can direct it to Billy, the question. Because whatever it is decided to develop, what you're gonna develop, I mean, wouldn't we have to wait to see if it would be appropriate to put the statue there? I'm just trying to kind of get a vision in terms of what it's gonna look like, how it's gonna look like. If we're looking at developing it, besides it being a park.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people tell me you should have a park with a gazebo in the middle. Yeah, that'd be great. Because it's, you know, it's right downtown, but it depends what we want to do with it. And that was my question to you, is are there any plans?
There are no plans. I have no proposed plans from any developer to do anything on that, and I would say this, though. I mean, for those of you that have sat on that corner during any event, whether it's the movies that we used to have in the park, that corner is a loud corner. I mean, it really is. And I know that Dave and I can have a lot of discussions about what's appropriate, but I think one of the things that gets forgotten in this community is that we have Vets Hall Plaza. It is a nice already area that is available for sitting down and enjoying the day. The courthouse, I don't know if anybody sat at the courthouse. They have a huge plaza with benches and that are hardly ever being used. So that's one of the things that I think that we need to start taking advantage of the facilities that we do have that are for that. Right on the corner of 4th and San Benito, I don't necessarily myself, being at events there, that's probably not the best place for a park. So, or that kind of a situation. Now, getting back to the placement of the memorial statue, I think that's entirely up to you folks, and if you want us to come up with a couple of areas and recommendations, that I think we can. But I think if they want it close to the 400 block, probably somewhere in that pedestrian plaza adjacent to the Briggs building probably makes the most sense right now.
I was just going to point that out, that is realistically, you know, the corner of the 400 block is not going to be possible. On the San Benito Street side, you know, if you look at it in the big picture, it would seem like this tiny thing out there that's really not going to make a lot of sense, and you're going to get vandalism and a lot of other problems going on. I think the best choices out there are either Dunn Park or, as Councilmember Friend said, closer to the Briggs building, or city manager was pointing out, somewhere in there might work, but you have to remember that eventually something will be built there. And when that does happen, it's going to be isolated in the back and nobody's going to see it. You know, I look at Dunn Park and we go out there every once in a while, and there's a lot of people that go out there. I know that's not your first choice, but you're always going to get people walking by and asking questions about it and wondering who Eric was. In front of the Briggs building, you have a lot of college students that are coming in and out, really no other care in the world but to make it in class on time. But that would be the other location, I think, that could work. I think if you can step back and look at that with David, that would be another choice. But on the corner, I don't think that's going to work, or on San Benito Street.
I wasn't proposing the corner. I would, in my, wherever fits appropriately.
Yeah, so you're all right with something like the Briggs building?
Yeah.
Closer to that area, right?
Well, I had to mention
You get
that.
a lot more public exposure on the road. you
Oh, I know.
And this is a piece, and it's not just about Eric in a sense, it's a piece of public art. It's gonna be a beautiful sculpture.
Right.
Whether the people know who he is or what he was, doesn't matter. I mean, it's something for the city to be proud of.
And you agree, though, that is a good area, though?
Yeah,
front of the
well,
Briggs.
If that's where it fits the best, and then you think it's, and it'll be less, worrying about moving it. I mean, it'll be there for a long time.
I'm
You know,
almost-
so
I'm
in that
almost-
20-foot strip somewhere,
I'm almost compelled to say is that it may be good to move it along the apron of the concrete apron in vicinity to the Briggs building, but maybe move it down towards
I would say
the vault
this,
building.
rather than us trying to decide this tonight,
Okay.
maybe you want to go out there and take a look at it together. And Councilmember Friend's been working with you. Maybe you go out there and
We have looked at it.
spot out that
We
location.
have looked at it. Well, we looked at the other sites downtown.
It-
And
It
this,
may-
I would say towards the road, about where you're, in your drawing where it says displays, right in that area where you can be seen from 4th Street and from San Felipe. That's where I would say
I
it
think-
would fit best there in that first 20 feet of that walkway.
I think if we move it, like where you were saying, Councilman Friend, towards the, close to the concrete edge there by the Briggs building, but move it a little bit down towards the vault building. If they do build a building, you'll still have visibility between those two buildings. So you're going to have I remember when I worked on the Performing Arts Center project, we had like a little sculpture garden between those two buildings, the proposed building and the vault building, to have like a transitional space that, to approach the new building. I think then if we do build a building, you'll still have that visibility, and it'll still be kind of an accessory to that structure, if I'm making myself clear.
well, it could be in that strip, and then, again, it's movable, so you could
Yeah.
start over by San Benito and,
Right.
you know,
Yeah,
by
I
Fourth,
think
and then move it wherever
that's the point I really
appropriate.
I really want to make clear, is that wherever we're positioned, we decide and we fine tune this position, we can always move it if we have to down the line.
I would like to make a proposal to the council that we approve the placement of it on the 400 block, somewhere in the area of less than 20 feet from the sidewalk along that, on the concrete plaza between the Briggs building and the lawn, in that area right there, about 20 feet back from the sidewalk. And I think that would eliminate some of the vandalism if we put it there, and it still would be seen. Now, years down the road, if we have a development go in there, it may not fit, and it may have to be moved, and we'll have to deal with that then. But right now, I think it's appropriate that we go ahead and place it there, and then we'll deal with whatever comes down the road. So that would be my proposal to the city council.
Okay, I think we have a speaker card. Do we have a speaker card?
Marty Richmond?
This is not it. Marty Richmond. Marty Richmond from Haussler. Of course, this is not a new subject to me, this piece of land. I think it's very difficult to try and place something without seeing the sight lines. So I encourage you not to make a decision, but to rather than when the thing is done, understanding there may be something that will happen down the road. That's always a possibility. I think what you ought to do is put it out there and look at the sight lines. Get some idea where you want it. But once you get it out there, look at the sight lines and say, oh, that's a good place for it because the sight lines are good. It doesn't get lost in the building shape. You know, sometimes there's lights in the wrong place. And what happens is you get a piece of public art, it's really a nice piece of art, and they just take it off to the side 2 degrees too much, and you just lose the whole thing because the lighting doesn't work. You know, it just washes it out. Or sometimes the building doesn't work. It's like posing someone in front of a telephone pole, you know, and it looks like the telephone pole's coming out the top of their head. So when you see artists place their, and I'm not an artist, but I've seen artists work, when you see them place their work, even if they're just hanging it on a wall, they put it up and they step back and they look at the sight lines and they say, that works. And I think you ought to handle that portion of it like that. You know, you may get a generalized area, but I think you shouldn't try to pin it down too much till you either get a something like a what do they call that, a sight pole or vision pole or story pole, thank you. You know, that you're going to have in place so you see what the sight line is, or actually get the piece of work out there. Yeah, that's the best way to do it, in my opinion. And get a couple of people with different opinions who look at it, and you'll be surprised. At one point or another, someone will put it somewhere, and everybody will go, that works really well there, because the sight lines work. As far as that piece of land, I know I'm jumping the gun. I'm sorry it came up tonight. I can't imagine any reason we would want to build a building there. We have no shortage of empty buildings downtown. I notice a few every now and then when I'm down there. And also, that corner is not going to remain the same. If you, my understanding is, we have plans for San Benito Street. We're going to maybe bulge out the corners, widen the sidewalks, make boutiques and cafes and all that stuff. Well, you know, that corner, the entire tenor of that corner is going to change. Because that corner is so narrow and has so much traffic, if you build a building there, it'll be like sitting in the Grand Canyon, okay? Meanwhile, the one thing we've got is open, inviting space to our shopping area, if we can never get it going, is what we got to offer. And the best way to do that, and I'm not talking about this from an environmental point of view, I'm talking from an architecture point of view, the best way to do that is to have somewhere where people can come sit down. And I know we have the courthouse, and I'm not belittling that and all the other stuff. But this is the open area to the shopping area. This is the shopping area. And the one thing we want to do there is get people out of their cars, walking into that area, and the best way to get people walking somewhere is to give them somewhere to rest, okay? So they could sit down, have a cup of iced tea, we could get a little cafe on the corner or something, and eventually we will cut the traffic down somehow so it's less noisy, whether we have to put up a noise barrier, little, you know, see-through noise barriers, not concrete walls. And people have it all over Europe. You go over there, the traffic is here, the barrier's here, and the people are sitting right on the other side. And it's the same problem. So I think you should wait till it's out there, rather than, you know, kind of get a generalized thing, but know exactly where. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from council? Recommendations? I think Council Member Friend had pointed out the area there between the Briggs building is probably the best site location. I think it was pointed out, and very important to look at that, put some kind of mock-up out there. I think it's a little difficult to move something that big around once it's completely done. But I would suggest some type of mock-up that reflects the height and the width and so on So you can see it. What does it look like at night, during the day? So on. Is that about, make sense?
I guess the bottom line is still is, that, I mean, can we get approval for that strip somewhere, and then the specific spot to be decided based upon?
That's what Councilmember Friend was recommending.
That's
Okay.
what I'm recommending, that
Perfect.
we approve the concept, but once the statue is set, then we may have to adjust it for aesthetics, like Marty is suggesting, but I think you need to hear that we're in favor of the statue as a whole, the idea of it
No,
being
that's fine, and that 20-foot strip in the front of the Briggs building somewhere is,
Do we need a motion on that, or would that just be consensus? Consensus?
I think what I would recommend at this point is that, yeah, it's a non-action item. We get a plan of a location from David, we take it to the engineer, and we probably just issue some sort of an encroachment permit because it ends up being on a public piece of property, and we can handle it probably administratively from there, unless the council actually wants to see a physical location back. No?
Fine.
Okay,
Okay,
all right,
thank you very much.
okay, thank you.
There it goes.
thank you.
Okay, item H, I, J, and K, there's no business. In the memory of,
in the memory of Andy Burgess.
and Al Martinez.
Al Martinez.
First and a second, all in favor? Aye, motion carries, 5-0 vote. Thank you very much.
I'm
I
sorry,
hope
who
you-
made the second?
Councilmember Valdivia.